The meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, I've just taken these slides down to see if that helps with Delissa's screen.
My fault is because I had a message come in and I went to switch messages off, and now I can't seem to get my full screen back in. Sorry, everybody. It's
right.
Technical incompetence here.
Okay, well, in the meantime, while the technical gurus are looking at their tech, Kent Invicta Chamber are currently exploring going back to face-to-face meetings. And I'm delighted to share with you that our event at the Curious Brewery, which is a sort of marker in the sand, has already sold out. This is really positive news. For those of you that are frequent flyers with the Chamber, we hosted one of the biggest events in our calendar last Thursday, and it was the Kent Construction Expo, and we're delighted to share with you that it was a roaring success. We were very concerned. We didn't know what the environment would be like, whether or not people would feel comfortable to come out, but we had an amazing vibe. Once again, we were supported by the delightful Adam there, and I think even you had some fun there, didn't you, Adam?
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, really good. Really met so many different people as well. So many different, really lovely people. Great to be a part of it, really.
Good vibe, yeah. Very buzzy. Paul, how are you doing on the tech?
At the moment, I'm just trying to sort out a couple of things. Give me a sec. I'm just going to go off camera. It won't be a moment.
Okay, then.
Can you still meet? I think I'm going to go out and come back in again because can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you, Delissa. While Paul's sorting out your tech, perhaps you could just give us a rundown on what currently brought you to the Chamber, how we were able to float on your radar, and how the Chamber has added value to the work that you do.
Can I go out and come back in again first, Kaz? Because I basically can't see anything at the moment.
Oh, so, okay then.
Fine if I just do that, and I'll be with you in a second. I'm sorry about this, but it's just for some reason it's gone off. So I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay, righty-ho. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd offer a cabaret, but unfortunately I've got a crap voice and I'm no good at all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a few shout out and introductions.
It looks like Kaz, sorry, it looks like Delissa is back on, are you?
Yeah, I am. Sorry about that.
Right. So I will thank you for your patience. I'll just share my screen to get the PowerPoint slides back up. Make sure that doesn't lose everybody from Delissa's perspective.
Okay, well, just very quick. I was going to say hello to everybody, but I think I've sort of taken up that time getting lost. There is a slide at the very end that says I've never picked up a camera in my entire life, and you now know that that's very true. Anyway, and on the bottom of this slide, as you can see, it says something very important, which is your client is the audience, and the audience's attention is what makes your video work, which is why I'm so audience focused, because obviously without an audience, there's no point in you having video. And the idea, of course, is to get the biggest audience that you possibly can, and to get that audience marketing for you. Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? So anyway, what we're aiming to do is to get the video to increase your profit by as much as 35%. And I have what I call my league table of 20 clear points that you have to address to make sure that your video works. If you've got all those team players in action, you should be able to get your video to increase your profit by as much as 35%. You're going to understand a little bit of the reason why. Can I have the next slide, Paul, please? So with the knowledge I'm going to, I hate the word teach, the knowledge that I'm going to show you today, a little bit of the knowledge anyway, and the knowledge that I teach fully in my masterclass, you can do 3 things. You can either use that knowledge to do it yourself, and there's no reason why you can't shoot a very good video with your iPhone and do an even better one than a production company could do, because once you know what you need to do to attract an audience, that video will work for you. I can help you by overseeing what you're doing, or you can have the Rolls-Royce service. Actually, I put an Aston Martin, which is I do it for you, because I couldn't find a picture of a decent Aston Rolls-Royce. Anyway, so if I do it for you, you just literally sit in place and the cameras roll, and then a few weeks later you get delivered the kind of video that will work magic for you. So can I have the next slide, please, Paul? Oh, before we start, hang on a second. Sorry, Paul, can you go back? I should have said something about it before we go to it. We're talking about audience and attention, and particularly an understanding that we're in something called the attention economy, which means that your video doesn't work unless you've got an audience, but your audience's attention is quickly taken elsewhere. And what I want you to do is watch this video that was made for a business, and watch it for as far as you possibly can until you want to shout stop. I shouldn't have given that bit away just now, actually, about as far as you possibly can. But watch it, and in the chat, if you could write stop, and as soon as we get to enough stops, we'll stop it. So don't suffer needlessly, is what I'm saying. Let's watch it. You can stick it out all you want to. The rest of us don't want to. I had a quick fire of 10 people saying stop, stop, stop. You wouldn't guess, would you? I guess that's for a clothing company. And yeah, cripes, who was it made for? Because it wasn't made for the audience or the client. It doesn't get better than that. The music drones on and on, and yeah, it's bit of a waste of your time, really. I mean, giving it 10 seconds is too much. Let's now have a look at something else. This one, before you hit forward, Paul, this one is, I want you to look at this for the way it gets your attention. What's important about this, as I said, is it's taking the audience for granted. You should never, ever do that. To me, it's the equivalent of serving hedgehog sandwiches in fairyland. Quite frankly, you know, you just don't care who's out there. You're just making it for yourself. And that's not going to appeal to anybody. That's not going to get you any attention. That's very much the extreme end of very bad. But in various other ways, producers and companies make the same mistake. So let's go on to the next slide, Paul, and then watch this one.
5 is an extremely robustly built vessel. There are a number of key features that we focus on when we're designing these vessels. As with all structural engineering, keeping things simple really is the best way to ensure safety. With the 595, we make sure that we have longitudinal structural continuity, which makes it very easy to analyse the strength of the boat. For the 595, we have tested a number of different carbon fibre materials. We actually laminate them in-house. We then send them off to be tested in an external lab. We then get those results back, and they can then tell us the difference in strength between the carbon fibres that have been tested. This enables us to only select the best carbon fibre that can be used for the 595. Of course, paramount is the safety aspects of the build. All engineering is reviewed by a Lloyd's Registered Structural Engineer. This ensures all structures meet the onerous Lloyd's rule before production commences. Security of the oyster owners is, of course, Oyster's #1 priority.
We can stop that. I should ask you really what you thought about that. It's you haven't got anything to compare it with yet, but you will see something to compare it with a bit later. Did you? Somebody's put up saying it's really boring. Someone in the trade, I found it very. Found it useful. Oh, well, that's interesting. Like that it got to the point. Right, I'm going to tell you what would have made it more effective. The person who's being interviewed is not looking at you, the audience, at all. I don't like it. In the beginning, he started slightly more in the middle of the frame, and then we went to a different type of interview, which you actually never do really in one interview, because it kind of jolts you a bit. But he's actually, we with the camera are here, And he, as the presenter and the person who's talking, is talking somewhere over to the right. So he's not actually engaging you and engaging you as the audience to listen to him. The technical information could have been better illustrated to help you absorb it more, so that the cutaways would be more effective. And there should have been a greater selection of the takeaway facts so that you get them boom, 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 like that. You get to absorb them. But it's mainly with that, to me, it's the camera angle and the kind of trendy darkness behind. I'm not really that, people do that sometimes, that's fine. But the fact that he's not engaging with you, particularly the audience, doesn't increase your impact. And I think that if you were up against, if there were other things in competition with you watching that, it wouldn't win. And that's a really important point. There are 360 hours worth of footage uploaded every minute on YouTube, every single minute. So that's the competition that you're fighting against. You cannot afford to get one single thing wrong. And if he had his eye level had been different, he'd been engaging more with the audience, talking more to the audience, you would have actually your attention would be more drawn in. And you're going to see how that works in a little while. Now let's completely at the other end of the scale. We're going to watch something. I hope you don't mind a bit of sexiness at 10:30 in the morning. This is a perfect example of how to entertain and inform at the same time. Because what I always say is that you're there first and foremost with your audience to entertain them. You maybe think it's to inform them, but it's not. It's to entertain them. You cannot inform people unless you entertain them first. So you entertain them and you slip the information under the door. That's your guaranteed way of getting information across to an audience. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to take away facts so that they remember things, so they repeat things, so that they talk to other people about things. Gosh, did you know that such and such has this incredible building system? Do you know that such and such has this? Do you know that they built the Forth Bridge, etc.? All those facts are all things that you want to remember very clearly. And when your audience remember very clearly, and when we get to the video I'm going to show you that's been brilliantly successful, you'll understand why. So can we have the next video, please, Paul?
5 is an extremely robustly built vessel.
Che cosa guardi, eh? Che cosa guardi? Mi stai spogliando con gli occhi? Poverino. Non puoi farne a meno. Ti batte il cuore. Ti gira la testa. Sei perso pensando che sarò tua per sempre. The Fiat 500 Abarth. You'll never forget the first time you see one.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite advert of all time, I think. It's the other end of the scale. It cost a lot of money, obviously. You can see from the production quality. It's a fantastic advert. It's, I think, a perfect example of how to entertain and inform. But it's you can't do the same thing for less. I'd like to say to you that you could, but you can achieve the same results for less, because all it's about is understanding your audience. So you can, you can, with the same principles in mind, achieve pretty much the same thing, but for a lot less money. And we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna come to how. How did you feel? Can I have the next slide, Paul? How did you feel about watching all of those? Let's go through what we learned from watching some of those. Next slide, please, Paul. The first point is don't take your audience for granted. Just because you make it doesn't mean that people will watch it. Understand your audience, as I said, don't take them for granted. Understand who your audience is, work out who your clients are, who's coming to your website. Don't expect them to watch it just because you've made it. I can't repeat that enough. It's so important. Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? You've got 4 seconds, at the beginning, first 4 seconds, because Well, we have, a goldfish actually has a 9-second attention span. We human beings now have, on average, a 4-second attention span. Unbelievable, isn't it? So the goldfish can remember more than you, well, can keep, remember more things than you can for a bit longer. That's not correct, is it? Anyway, it has an attention span longer than you have. So 4 seconds is all you've got. When the client or the potential client or the audience or whatever has arrived on your website from wherever they've come from, whether they've come from a newspaper article, whether they've come from social media, from Instagram, whatever, and they land on your website, they're looking for information, but they also, as I said, want to be entertained. You've got 4 seconds in which to keep them there. Don't spend that 4 seconds telling them, A, what your name is, or B, what your company is, because they actually already know that. Those first 4 seconds are to be filled with very sharp, crucial information, preferably something that teases them in. If you can't do that, you give them a takeaway fact, something that will grab them to make them keep watching. In television, we actually drive people forward with scripts. If you come to my masterclass, you get to understand how you drive people forward with a script. You also get to understand what makes a good tease and makes people keep watching. But for now, one of the key things you need to understand is use those 4 seconds and use them well. Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? I said to this to you before, what do they want? Information or entertainment? They actually want to be entertained first. That's a subliminal form of entertainment. It's actually in your subconscious. You can't primarily educate people because you bore them. It's simple as that. You have to actually, and when I say entertainment in the terms of your company video, I mean things like making sure that the camera angles are right. I'm not asking you to be a clown. I'm asking you to make sure that you get things tightly edited, that you get your camera angles right. That's all a part of an entertainment package, to be aware of your audience and to put them first. Not, give them the information, put the entertainment first. Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? So who do you make that video for? I think we've already covered this. You don't make it for you, ABC, generic company, whoever you are. You actually make it for the audience first. And I say that you make with the audience in mind. You're actually putting across your information in a way that they will enjoy it. You're all audience members. You all understand what it is to be bored. So we don't do what that company did in that first video. Can we have the next slide, please? So I would like you to ask, just to remind yourself what it's like to be an audience member. What was the last thing that you remember watching? How long did you actually watch it for? 5 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, half an hour, an hour? Was it on television? Was it on YouTube? Wherever. But did you notice, and maybe you can notice from now on, what it is you do? Did you learn anything? Did you learn any takeaway facts? Did you share them with your friends? That's a really crucial point. If you watched it for long, was it because you were entertained? If you repeated anything to any of your friends, is it because you were informed and you wanted to share that information? We all do it. Water cooler moments, we say, gosh, did you see that? Or did you know this? If you shared it, it's because you were amused or because you were astounded. If you took action, it's because you were inspired. And we all want the client that lands on the website to take action. We want them to watch that video long enough to take action. We want them to be inspired. So can I have the next slide, please, Paul? So what do you actually want? You want a video that works for you because it gets watched. We want people to act on it and we want people to talk about it. So we can't afford to be sloppy with our videos. Can I have the next slide, please? Again, I want to remind you to remember that in a goldfish, you've got 4 seconds is all you have. But every second in that video counts, every single second. If it doesn't work, it should be on the edit suite floor. If there's a moment of slackness, it should be on the edit suite floor. If you don't use every second that's in that video, I'm not kidding, but your audience will switch. Something else will cross their screen and they'll be gone, unless you are taking them on one hell of a ride at a rapid pace that keeps them glued. Crucially important. Let's just remind ourselves how television uses the first 4 seconds, particularly the first 4 seconds, but how it keeps everything incredibly tight. But the first 4 seconds, or well, more than 4 seconds in the tease I'm going to show you, those first few minutes and how they tease you and how they keep you moving forward. Can we have the next slide, please?
In 1982, over 10,000 Argentine troops seized control of the Falkland Islands and declared this British colony was now Argentine.
They were quite forceful, and it was scary. They had what I would have called a Nazi-orientated discipline about them.
Each time we were taking aid, they pointed the guns at the children, and you knew that the guns were loaded.
He said the best solution would be to kill all the Falkland Islanders, and then there wouldn't be a population to worry about.
I wasn't afraid to die. I just felt sort of quite numb at that stage.
I remember trying to sleep, and every time a bomb went off, actually physically lifting off the floor.
Just trying to get someone out of the back of a BV that's had their leg blown off. You know, the screams, it was a nightmare.
So you didn't get to blink almost out of that, did you? You were just dragged along at 100 miles an hour. It just goes to show what I was trying to point out to you, that every second of your video counts. You have to keep it moving along at a quick pace. I want to go back to that discussion I was having earlier about the point I was making earlier about camera angles in the next slide. And I want you to look at this slide. We're going to come back to this next slide, if you could show me, Paul. We're going to come back to it. I want you to look at it and ask yourselves what you notice here. We'll come back to it in a minute, and I hope you'll have noticed a few things about it. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. You're going to understand why that camera angle is important, what it's actually doing to you, the viewer. You probably haven't realized. Can we go to the next slide, please, Paul? So this is the squad that I teach in my masterclass. These are the 20 things that I call them my squad team. 20 things that you have to absolutely, if any of those things is not in order, then you are at risk of losing your audience. That means if you haven't got the music right, and music, by that I mean music that dips. You remember the film we saw about the yacht? The music didn't dip. It needs to dip under the person who's speaking. If it doesn't, there's a conflict, whether you notice it consciously or subconsciously, in your brain. The information doesn't come across quite so sharply because the music hasn't been dipped. Cutaways should always be done in order. You're probably right now photographing that or grab a screen grabbing it. Don't, because I need, I'd rather that you let me talk you through it, because those things are very, 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 very detailed in what you have to know about them. We're going to go through 2 or 3 of those things today. We're talking about the audience, we're talking about interviews, and I think we're talking about music as well. Can I have being audience aware and interview technique? Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? The thing about interview technique is primarily it's a cleverly steered conversation. What happens when you don't interview somebody is you get a presenter, or you get the CEO of a company, and the production company, no matter who they are, 9 times out of 10, they do this mistake, and it's not very clever. They get the CEO to stand there, and they will say, they'll have given them a script to learn to begin with, or else they're giving them something, auto cue to read off. All of that is completely wrong. If you know your business, you know how to talk about it. Of course you do. You're passionate about it. It's your business. It's the way I'm passionate about video. You know how to talk about it. All you need is somebody to ask you the right questions in the right way, and you will come across as passionate, knowledgeable, and that in itself is engaging. So what we're going to do is you're going to see that in action, what I mean by it. I mean, an good interview technique is primarily a conversation between you and the person who's interviewing you. And that's something else I teach in depth in my masterclass, so you really can get a hang of how that works, because that is one of the most primary important things, because it makes your CEO come across as engaging. And as I said, that's quite important in order to keep people watching. Can we have the next slide, please, Paul? The reason I'm saying punch through is because I want to remind you that there's 360 hours worth of footage uploaded every minute on YouTube. So you really have to be able to punch through. You really have to be able to grab attention in a crowded landscape. And I'm going to show you some examples of how in one particular industry, which is the yachting industry, how very often it fails to do that, and the reason it does fail to do that. So let's, I'm giving you the yachting examples because that's mainly a lot of the industry that I work in, but it applies all the way across the board. Can I have the next slide, please, Paul? Okay, so you watched that. I think we watched it for enough. Now let's watch the next one. Okay, I think my point is made. I don't know if anybody else got it. Those two videos are almost exactly the same. That happens in a lot of industries. It happens in school industries, etc. People make a video and it's generic almost. There's no difference between the videos. And the problem, particularly in this industry, is the yacht brokers will, on their page, you'll see the videos, and it's hit this one, hit this one. How do you expect anybody to select which particular one they want? Because all the yachts are giving you exactly the same information. It's got sails. You can have a glass of champagne on the deck. Wow. There are toys. You would have seen the toys a bit later on. It floats. Fantastic. So as you can see, it's kind of a bit of a generic scenario, and a generic doesn't work. That may or may not apply to your business, but it's something worth bearing in mind. You have got to tell people what the USP is of your company, what makes your business different, and you have to say it. You have to say it, you have to show it, you have to tell it. Can I see, okay, the next video I'm going to show you, which is actually this video before I was brought in to fix it. The reason I'm showing it to you, because I want you to ask yourself what your eye is doing. I'm going to look in the chat and see if anybody's got it, because then I'm going to show you the slide and you'll understand. Okay? You probably won't get it because it's very subliminal. So nobody in the chat has got it. Actually, somebody did mention the word focus. Somebody's mentioned the word focus, so maybe that's, but anyway, I'm going to show you the next slide and then let's see if you get it. The next slide is a still. Can you show me, Paul?
Welcome to Queen Anne.
Slide. In between. I have a feeling, Paul, that you didn't get my updated slides.
Apologies.
Welcome to Queen.
Yeah. What it was, oh, it's just a shame I can't show you. It was, I tell you, oh no, I can't show you on my things either. What it is there's a wheel that you probably didn't notice, but it was the color and the grade. So if I was to show you the slide, you would see it. It's a shame. Okay. It's basically you're looking at the wheelhouse, and the wheelhouse is bright red, and because that's what's happening, your eye is entirely focused on that bright red wheelhouse. And it stops you. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted by that. It stops you from noticing the swimmers around the boat and the toys going on around the boat, because your eye is completely drawn to the wheelhouse, which is bright red. So what I'm saying is that the color, what we call the grade, is so completely wrong that your eye is not able to move all the way across the screen. You are just completely distracted, and you probably wouldn't have noticed that unless I'd shown it to you. But what you will not have noticed basically is the swimmers around and other things that were going on around the yacht, because the color, as I say, was too highly focused and too highly graded. Anyway, that's something to be aware of when you look at a film. If it's been made for you by a production company, look at what they've done with the grade. They should have shot it in something called S-log, which is almost a kind of like grey and white sort of thing, which makes everything look washed out, and then you put the color back in, and you can see the color on this shot that we're looking at right now is pretty reasonable. But you know, I mean, they could, if this was a bad grade, you see that red thing in the corner there, that would be overly highlighted because they'd have picked out too many of the red colors in the overall screen. So, you know, that is when, if a production company does a job for you, that's something to look out for. What is your eye doing? Because your eye should be focused on that person that's in the middle, not distracted elsewhere. And if the grade on that yacht thing had been even, you would have absorbed, as I said, the other things that are going on in the scene. Anyway, can we have the next slide, Paul? Oh, it's this. It is this one. What do you notice? I'm kind of slightly thrown now. That's why I was a bit blown, because we've got the incorrect slides here.
Queen Anne's. I'm Julia Harrington, headmistress. You'll find lots of information about Queen Anne's on our website, but I'd like to share with you my thoughts on what makes this school such a special place and the right choice for your daughter. Senior school education has to encompass both qualifications and growing as an individual and learning to be an important part and a significant part of a growing and global community. The world that we're preparing these girls, our students, for is changing all the time. So what we have to do is look at the kind of people that we are preparing these girls to be. And for them, it's about being able to face any challenge that comes along. So academic qualifications are just their current challenge, and their challenges will be different going forward. So we teach them how to approach the challenge, how to look at it, analyse it, see what's needed, and then take that leap into being the best that they can possibly be. Whether it's sport, music, drama, art, we like to push girls outside of their comfort zone. So if they're sporty, we want them to take up a musical instrument. In drama, one of the best moments for me is when I hear a girl who's maybe from Russia play the part of a Cockney character. So extracurricular is really important to both develop the skills in that area, but also to play, to imagine.
I can tell you what's wrong with that, is that this is effectively somebody who heads up a business that is, and it is a business effectively, where there's a lot of money coming in and parents make a very serious investment. And who do you make that investment in? You make that investment in the CEO, i.e. the headmistress. but you're not really seeing very much of her. She's talking over images. For you to engage with her, you actually need to be able to see her talking to you more often. The way she's filmed again isn't working. I don't understand the reason for the slow motion. So you don't do slow motion unless there's a reason for it, and there was no reason for it. It added nothing. Never do anything that distracts your audience unless there is absolutely a reason for doing it. Don't use a drone unless you would have sent up a helicopter. Okay, if you would have sent up a helicopter, use a drone. Otherwise, don't just use it willy-nilly. There's no point. Cutaways, which is when you see the kids and all that, it should give meaning to the sync. In other words, what the headmistress is saying. So, you know, if you are a business and you're being interviewed as a CEO and they're going to cutaways of your business, those cutaways in part must reflect what's being said. They must highlight what's being said. They must emphasize what's being said. They must, in their own way, also take you forward. To me, that video fails on several points. And actually, as we went through it, I began to think the color was a bit off. It was a bit too, I would have said to the editor, could you pull back on the color on that? Because you noticed that the schoolgirls look like little red robins with their little red breasts. The next one, don't hit next yet for me, Paul. The next one, now I just want to, this is the video that was incredibly successful. It's very successful because we were able to measure it. We know it was successful. Normally you can't really measure the success of what's going, but we were able to measure this success by the response that they got from it directly. This is again the CEO of a company. The investment that anybody will make in this company will be 35,000 a year for possibly 10 years, and they may be doing that double. So they may be spending something short of a million, on this in this business. They may be investing that much money in their business. We're also talking about them investing large sums of money, but they're also talking about their most precious thing, their child. So what do they want? They want to have trust in the person who's the head of that CEO. And that may apply to your business too, that you may be the person that somebody's going to invest in. So therefore, they need to have trust in you. It's very important. So what we're going to watch now here is what is actually everything, all the ducks are in a row, effectively, on this. And you watch and you'll see.
I think this is the previous film, Delissa. Can I skip over to this?
Sorry, this is the generic one. Yeah. Okay, let's watch this, because this is a school version of those yacht films, effectively. So let's watch this for just a second. We don't need to watch very much of it for you to get an idea again.
This is the opposite of what you would want, isn't it?
Yeah, this is basically because we've sort of got our slides in the wrong order on this. Do you want to show me then? Yeah, I mean, that's a generic film, basically. It doesn't really tell you anything. The reason I put learn anything at the side of it is because, yeah, what are you learning, really? It's almost like it's aimed at the girls, really, but it's not aimed at the person who's going to be putting the money into it. Yeah, Ryan Hammond saying to everyone, the audience is wrong. Weird. Yeah, it is weird, actually. But anyway, you know, let's now have a look at the one that does actually work.
Girls need to know that the world is absolutely out there for the taking.
Thank you, girls. Please sit down.
They need to be confident enough and bold enough to get out there and grab it with both hands.
The key to success isn't competing against others, but against yourself.
Last year, 100% of girls who went to university gained their first choice. This year at A-level, we were 9th in the Telegraph Small School League table for the first time. One of the things parents love about Heathfield when they call is that I don't have to say, hold on a minute while I go and look for a file. I know who their daughter is.
Yeah, just like really slow.
Sensible passes, that's not sensible.
I hold the school in trust. What is important is the team. And I'm talking about girls, I'm talking about staff, I'm talking about parents. Everybody works together in order to ensure that our girls achieve. The one thing I want every single girl to leave Heathfield with is confidence. Education changes lives, because having a good classroom changes the life chances of the child within it. Every child only gets one chance in life to make it. We as teachers have so much influence. A word from us, a bit of encouragement, and you're remembered for the rest of your life.
I'm going to whiz through this quickly because we're sort of slowly running out of time. You noticed that her eye line grabbed you, that the way she spoke, the way she was interviewed engaged you. She told the customer what they needed to know. She told it quickly, she told it sharply. Girls need to be confident to know and to understand they can achieve what they want to, that the opportunities are out there. Bam, bam, bam. It's all there right at the front. And, you know, if you're an interested parent who's landed on that website, that information is given to you very sharply, very quickly. And, you know, you don't get a moment to let up. You don't need to let up, do you? There's not a second drops out of that. It starts with the context of the school. It's got establishing shots. It's got the interview clear. The cutaways all follow in sequence. It's got a killer opening sentence, absolutely crucial killer opening sentence, using those 4 seconds. It knows its customer. It knows what the customer needs to know. And it's full of facts. It creates trust. It does what it needs to do. It creates trust in the CEO. It gives you facts to take away, and it's selling by not selling. And you probably, I hope, noticed how effective the camera angle was, because that deliberately engaged you. And we're now going to just quickly go into that Diana interview. That video, by the way, is the one that, if I wasn't clear, increased the company business by 35%. So can we see the next one, because this is the Diana picture. Right, so I wanted to go through this because we're talking about camera angles. What this camera angle actually does for you, if you notice where the camera is, it's over Martin Bashir's shoulder. So the way it's looking at Diana, which is to catch her eye line, remember she had beautiful eyes, everything that's in the background is out of focus to keep you focused on her. But the key point is, where are you? You're sitting here over his shoulder watching. The impact of that is to make you feel like you're eavesdropping. You are eavesdropping on a conversation. And when you're eavesdropping, of course, you listen more intently. We all do. If that had been done as a lecture format with Diana in a big square and her just doing, which is what I'm doing, the kind of framing that I'm doing, it would not have, well, you know, we know the subject matter was crucially important, but what I'm saying is, in another type of video, that would not have the same impact. What is important is this angle, which makes you feel like you're learning something because you're eavesdropping. So and the eye line, of course, was extremely flattering for her. As you proceed through the video, you can see that it's all aimed at focusing on her eyes. Who doesn't remember those beautiful blue eyes? So it makes you pay attention, because you are not being addressed or educated, you are eavesdropping. So next slide, please, Paul. Quick reminders. Don't script your passion, be interviewed. So in other words, don't learn it off by heart, get somebody to ask you the questions. Use those first few seconds, remember the goldfish. Cut the mindworm, interference from visual obstacles. In other words, those things are in the background were faded out. The right camera angle keeps the audience engaged, and it keeps the audience engaged with you and your business. Don't let them unhook by spilling a single second. Every second counts in the edit suite. If it's pointless, drop it on the edit suite floor. Nobody misses what's on the edit suite floor. Don't be generic, because it doesn't help you rise across of the others. Remember your takeaway facts, remember your USP. And at the very end of your video, always have a call to action. Next video. Oh, and it's about my masterclass. So basically, remember I was telling you beforehand, I love that quote from Janet Street-Port. I don't know how it works, I just want it to effing work. I have never taken the lens cap off a camera. Well, I have done once. But it's not something I do. I basically don't understand that. I hire people who do it for me. What I know is how to make sure people keep watching. And that's the knowledge that I'd like to share with you and small SMEs, either so that you can, as I said, make it yourself, or I can help you, or I can make it for you. So I hope you will join me at some point. Can I have the next slide? These are the dates of the next events that I'm doing: the 21st of October, 11th of November, and the 9th of December. They're all on a Thursday in the afternoon, and they take 2.5 hours. And for everybody who comes, I give you a 15-minute free follow-up consultation for each attendee, in which I help you with ideas. Just go through that quickly, because basically most of my life I've also been a head of development, which means you come up with the ideas, you take the idea into the broadcaster and you pitch it. And all the time you're thinking about audience, who's going to watch it. So I am a buzz of ideas formats. So one of the people who came to one of my master classes runs a mushroom business, and he said, and it's his mushrooms that they put into packages for Christmas presents for kids. And he wanted to do a sort of like a growing thing. And I said, what you do is you get 2 kids and you get them to grow, and you get them to keep a little mini diary. And you put those mini diaries into a little film so that they each grow their own, in a competition, they each grow their own mushrooms. And he said immediately, he said, oh, I've got a niece and nephew who can do that. No, you audition immediately for that. You get the sparkiest, funniest kids, and you get them to make their own little films, and you turn that into a video film for his mushrooms. And I reckon that would have been engaging. I don't know if he's done it or not. Next slide, please. That's the ticket prices, and these are the links. Finished.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we were running tight on time, ladies and gentlemen, because of our tech issues. And I'm very, very grateful for your patience. If you'd all kindly like to unmute, we've got about five minutes. Is there anyone from our audience today that would like to pose a question for our speaker?
Will it come up in the chat?
No, you kind of answered that, but if our audience would like to unmute, if there's any burning questions there from anyone.
Can I ask, should you sorry should you always have music in the background? Because we do quite a lot of videos, we've got a YouTube channel and it's sort of going okay, but we don't use music in them. I talk in the videos because we're giving information, but we haven't used music. But I noticed that you mentioned about the music. So is that really quite a key thing that we should be looking at?
Is it interfering with what you're saying? Is it adding? Is it giving something? What's it doing? And if you can't dip it when somebody's speaking, then it's in conflict, isn't it? So the music is in conflict with what's being said, in which case I'd say drop it unless it's adding something. One of the things that my pet hates is when people take the Highland Fling to Scotland. So if it's not emphasizing what you're doing, you already know it's Scotland, add something else. I mean, we once put the suffragettes marching to the Prodigy. So we had archived footage of the suffragettes marching, we put it to the Prodigy. It added to it, it made it really wham wham, completely from 2 separate worlds, and put them together, and it really emphasized it. So what I'm saying to you, Debbie, is unless it's adding something, don't do it, because if it's conflicting with what's being said, drop it.
Fantastic. I found it really, really helpful today. Thank you so much for your time, by the way.
What's Baby Lady do?
We sell baby equipment. We're the largest independent nursery store in Kent.
Oh, wow.
Lovely to hear. Are there any other questions in the final few minutes that we have from our guests here today?
What about divorce solutions? Oh, can you ask me something, divorce solutions? I'd like to meet you. I don't need a divorce, but I'm just fascinated.
Well, we do have John Benfield with us. John is very new in post, and I congratulated him last time, loyal chamber members. How was that for you today, John?
It was very good. And I was going to ask, actually, interesting that your favourite advert was the Italian advert. I spend a lot of time in Italy. My wife's Italian, so I know very much about what their style of advertising and delivery is. I mean, how much worth do you think there is in that, in looking what other countries do because when we see that, we get hit by something very different in style, in look, in sound, and it's quite automatically engaging. How much worth do you think there is in looking what other countries do and then trying to bring some of that over, rather than doing just what we might do in this country?
Well, an advert, if you want, an advert has to be international. If you want it to be international, to go around everywhere, yeah, and you can pick up ideas from elsewhere. But an advert, that's an advert that I showed, and that's actually very different from, in a sense, what you might do for your own business. Because advertising is, advertising doesn't have story in it. Steve Jobs said, you know, story makes your client walk your way. It doesn't tell you enough about your business directly. Most videos are only 2 minutes long. Mind you, that was probably like 20, 30 seconds, wasn't it? But that's a traditional advert. I showed it for its quality and showed it for its extreme end. I wouldn't have recommended it necessarily for SMEs or for businesses, because as you saw from the Heathfield film, if you'd done that sort of thing with the Heathfield film, it wouldn't be as effective.
No.
So it depends what suits your business as well. What business are you in, John? Horizons?
Oh, it's quite a wide-ranging thing, but actually also something that could be considered a little bit boring. We deal in risk and resilience for companies, so we try and help companies be more resilient and look at how they deal with crisis management and things like that. And we can fall in the trap sometimes of either being a little bit boring without upsetting my owner, or a little bit drastic. You know, we deal in crisis management, so it could be quite drastic events that we are highlighting and quite depressing events that we are highlighting. So trying to find a happy medium between that is sometimes quite difficult.
Absolutely, positivity. Delissa, sorry, I'm so sorry. We're running very tight on time. Paul, can I ask you to put the contact details and Delissa's email in the chat for us? And then if anybody has got any further questions, what we can perhaps do is we can field those on, and Delissa will come back or Paul will come back. It only remains for me to say thank you so much for your patience with our technology. This is one of the beauties of live webinars. You were absolutely outstanding, Delissa. You were fluid, you were competent, what you said made sense, and you weren't evangelical. You know, you didn't blind us with science. So we are delighted, as always, to have you speak with us. Our thanks go out to my chamber support, Adam, with his magic fingers, Paul, for your technical support in making sure that things ran smoothly, but most of all to our valued members and our valued guests here. I hope you've all got some takeaways. Delissa is very, very accessible, and I'm sure would be only delighted to answer any unanswered questions. It only remains for me to wish you all a good forward day. I've been Kaz Macklin for Kent Invicta Chamber. Take it easy, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Barbara. Take it easy.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Kaz, I just wanted to say I was having a bit of a mare today with my IT. I was listening for most of it, but I couldn't get the camera up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim lives in a rural idyll, and sometimes his IT doesn't always, but you know what? You always add something to our events when you come.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're frozen there,
We're delighted to have you with us. And thank you for CBE Expo last week. Great to see you.
Well, we'll be seeing you at the, where is it? What? The
Bitter.
Brewery and the Bitter. So we're booked in. See you then. Thanks a lot.
Paul, stay with us.
I will do.
If you could close Barbara, please, Adam.
Yeah.
And Tom. We've lost Delissa. That's a shame. She's bugged out. She was absolutely superb. She was fluid. She was competent. She was interesting. Always a pleasure to have her with us. And she's witty. So, you know, she ticked the boxes. I'm sorry we had to end it, but one of the things we're very conscious of is that when people devote time to these events, we have to start and end on time. So if you could kindly explain that to her. I hope she wasn't nipped off because we had to finish a little bit more abruptly than perhaps we would have done, but there weren't that many questions from the floor, so I hope you can manage that for us, Paul.
Yeah, of course, no problem at all.
Are you happy with that, sir? Was it okay for her to showcase her?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think the introduction was great, and I think that the technical challenges to one side, I think people got the real flavour of what the value that Delissa brings to that creation of film, quality film footage for promotional aspects is all about. And lots of positive comments as well. I saw lots of people being very appreciative in the chat as well.
Yes, they did. Adam will send an email to thank her for her time and for supporting the membership today. So, and as always, thank you for your continued support.
No trouble, no trouble.
You were great behind the scenes. Wishing you a great rest of the
Thanks,
day.
guys.
You're
Thanks,
welcome,
Adam.
sir.
Cheers,
Take it
guys.
easy.
See you later.